Welcome to Liberal BFer, where we put the left on check. Today's reality check. World War III is looming, and it seems that the draft may soon become a reality. It's ironic that President Biden, who campaigned on prioritizing diplomacy and peace, has now issued an executive order to mobilize reserve members of the armed forces. This move is meant to bolster the number of active armed forces for Operation Atlantic Resolve in Europe. The announcement of this decision on whitehouse.gov has caused quite a stir among reservists I know who are understandably concerned. It's worth noting that just recently at the NATO summit in Lithuania, political leaders seemed almost obsessed with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, even going so far as to overlook Biden himself. In a slip of the tongue, Biden revealed his true thoughts about who was attacking whom.
Russia could end this war tomorrow by withdrawing its forces from Ukraine, wrecking its international borders, and ceasing its attacks on its inhumane attacks on Russia. By Russia on Ukraine.
It's disheartening to see such hypocrisy from our president as he simultaneously promotes peace while ramping up military action. The situation between Russia and Ukraine is complex and requires careful consideration and diplomatic efforts rather than hasty decisions that could escalate tensions further. And it's not just the president who holds this belief.
A few things. So I will say, with respect to your first question, we believe the war has been a strategic failure for Ukraine. I'm sorry, a strategic failure for Ukraine. Thank you for the correction. Which is, I need more than one correction today.
Even a spokesperson from the State Department expressed similar thoughts, viewing the war as a strategic failure for Ukraine. Frankly, I fail to understand why we would need to call upon reserves or even activate the draft in the direst circumstances. But upon examining the statement from the U.S. Department of Defense, as well as their website, it is interesting to note that they claim this action will benefit troops and families while reaffirming support for defending NATO's eastern flank against Russia's invasion. However, they also acknowledge that Ukraine is already doing an outstanding job. It's quite intriguing how being called up for potential frontline deployment is framed as a result of the successful war effort in Europe, leading to the president ordering your return to active duty. But don't fret, because supposedly this will only bring benefits to you and your family. Yet at the same time, they explicitly state that it won't change the number of forces currently stationed in Europe. Nevertheless, according to an article on military.com regarding this situation, it states that the U.S. has already contributed a staggering $40 billion to Ukraine. Furthermore, just last year alone, our presence in Europe increased by 20,000 troops, resulting in a total of 100,000 personnel stationed there. Of course, this executive order doesn't explicitly state an increase in troop numbers in Europe. However, one must wonder if it's because we've already increased our presence or if activating reserves is necessary to fulfill our original commitment. It's quite interesting how they proudly boast about the $40 billion they have sent to Ukraine. However, news has recently come out that the Air Force had to halt personnel transfers and bonuses due to a lack of funds. I may not have experience running an entire branch of the armed forces, but I'm pretty certain that consistently sending billions of dollars overseas won't solve our own financial issues. And let's not forget about the ongoing controversy surrounding mandated vaccinations in the Pentagon. Perhaps this is why the Army fell short of their recruitment targets by 25% last year. Instead of focusing on important matters like military readiness and capability, it feels like leadership is more concerned with accommodating personal preferences, promoting transition surgeries, and even encouraging reliance on government assistance programs. Clearly, these misguided efforts haven't yielded positive results because this is supposed to be recruitment for our military, not auditions for a flashy Netflix show. Somewhere along the way, we've allowed an excessive emphasis on woke culture to permeate our national security concerns. It's concerning that NATO is seemingly enchanted by Zelensky's appearance in Lithuania while disregarding more pressing matters at hand. Unfortunately for you, we're not going anywhere. You're stuck dealing with these ill-advised decisions and their consequences. But of course, this was completely unacceptable to Zelensky. Apparently, he took to social media to criticize NATO for not providing a timeline for joining. It's truly unprecedented and absurd that NATO countries are not willing to engage in direct conflict with Russia. It's interesting how these political leaders play their games while disregarding the well-being of their citizens. They don't mind using taxpayers' money or devaluing the currency, as long as Zelensky's people suffer. No one wants to acknowledge the real victims, those who have lost everything, living in unbearable conditions on the front lines, only to step on a landmine and never see their loved ones again. When the draft becomes a reality, all this fake support will disappear. Unfortunately, by then it will be too late. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments. That's it for today. To help support the channel, please comment, like, share, subscribe, and be sure to check this one out next.